Well, hello everybody, and we're back again to take another look down memory lane at our past history. And I'm joined today with a very special guest, a very special lady who's had quite a career and has a great story to tell us, and that's Miss Eileen Murphy.
Thank you.
And Eileen's here, and Eileen lives in Ballymcdermott, up at the top of the Burnish, and we're going to take a wee walk back down through memory lane with Eileen.
Yeah.
And just to start off, Eileen, you're living at home in Ballymcdermott.
Yes.
And you're the fourth generation in that house, isn't that right?
It would be. Oh God, my grandfather and my grandfather. Yes, fourth.
Fourth
Yes, it
generation.
would be. Yes.
Now,
Would be.
your grandfather was Pat Murphy, isn't that
Pat
right?
Murphy. Yes.
And who did Pat marry, Eileen?
Pat married a girl called Liza McConville.
Liza McConville.
Yes.
And for some reason, there is a particular reason why Pat is well remembered. He was involved in the Armagh train disaster, isn't that right?
That's correct. That's
Could
correct.
you tell us something about that?
Well, you see, they were coming from Armagh to Warren Point. I think it was the
Sunday school excursion.
Yes, and to climb up, it needed another
Engine.
engine, but he was. He said his engine would pull it, which it wasn't able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So they were going to. There's a film about it. But when they uncoupled the train, put stones behind it to keep it from running back.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, it ran about. All the cars that were
Derailed.
derailed.
And there was a lot of people killed.
Yes, and it ran into my father's train.
Yes.
And he had the presence of that time to say to the fireman, jump. And he slowed down and he said, and Murphy blew the whistle. And he was able to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
But his engine tumbled down the embankment.
Right.
And I apologise now because my voice is not just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But he lived just the following year, just 2 months, I think.
After
Yes.
he died.
Yes.
Now, he had 3 children, Pat Murphy, isn't
Yes,
that right?
he did. Yeah.
And your father, Barney, was one of them.
That's right.
And who were the other children?
Charlie and Roseanne.
Charlie and
died
Roseanne.
a young fella. And Roseanne went to Scotland.
Now, where you live today, that's where your father obviously was reared.
That's right.
Barney was reared there.
Yeah.
Now, he married a girl called Katie Lochran, isn't that right?
That's right.
Now, he didn't have to go too far to get Katie, did he?
You see, that time they were all match-made marriages. And you never got a cow or something.
Well,
You know, you'd have to get something.
and Katie just lived down at the bottom of the hill, isn't that right?
Yes.
Well, and I think you told me that there was 3 sisters, was there?
Yes. Well, my father's 2 cousins
Right.
married the other 2 sisters.
Sisters.
There was 3 of them. And one of them was Thomas McGuinness down the road,
Yes.
and Martha lived in Clonlum.
Right.
3 sisters.
Very good.
So that was all match-made marriages.
Right.
My father said he didn't remember being single.
So, so Barney set up home with Katie Lochran
Yes, that's
when he
right.
married her
Yes,
up in your house.
that's right.
And then him and Katie had 9 children.
That's right.
And you're the second youngest, are
Yeah,
you?
that's right. Yes.
And your sister Kathleen
That's right.
was the youngest.
Youngest.
And I remember Kathleen, she was
Of
a cook,
course, yes.
a cook in Clog School.
You're right,
Isn't
yes,
that right?
that's right, yes.
Well, tell us a wee bit about growing up, Eileen, up in Ballymcdermott with your 8 brothers and sisters.
We had a great time. It was very, very happy. And loads of animals.
Hmm.
Sheep, cows, pigs, everything, because my brother was a farmer at that time.
That was Charlie.
Charlie. And he was a brilliant farmer.
Mhm.
My father was all at sea, and he said Charlie could do it however he liked.
Hmm.
You see, let him do what he wanted to do.
Right.
And he had pigs, and he had sheep, and sent milk to the creamery, and farmed, and actually he was only 37 when he died, and he when he's young he bought 3 farms
Yeah.
at that age.
He had 3 farms bought by the time he was 37.
That's right.
Now, he was obviously Charlie was a real entrepreneur.
As you was, yes.
Now, you also told me, Eileen, when we've been talking over the years, you told me that Charlie, as we said, he died when he was 37.
That's right.
He took sick, and you said that when Charlie died, the spirit of the place seemed to go with him.
That
didn't it?
is right. That is correct. That's correct. That is right.
The
There's
place
nobody-
was never the
You
same.
couldn't. You couldn't pay the people to you couldn't pay anybody to do the work he could do. Yes.
Yeah. Now, sadly, your mummy died at a relatively young age.
Yes.
She was only 52.
That's right.
Now, that was back in 1937.
That's right, yes.
Now, I reckon you were only about 10 or 11 then.
You're right, yes.
So, who looked after you then? Who stepped
Well, then,
into your mother's role?
Alice was there.
Your sister Alice.
Alice. And then Mary at occasionally would come up with her children, and she would give a ham out.
Mm.
Yes. They were all great for us.
Now-
Great.
Now, just then to recap, your father, or as you call him, your dad, you
Yes,
obviously
your
had a
dad.
very close relationship with your
That's
dad.
right, yes.
Your dad was at sea,
Yes,
and Alice was at home looking after you.
yes.
And everybody else, I presume, had jobs.
Yes, right.
And you went to Clog School.
In Clog School.
Now,
We all went to Clog School.
Clog School at that time was situated over at the corner of the Seafin.
Well, yes.
Road.
Well, I was only young that time. Then the new school was built,
Yeah.
and I went down to the new school.
Aye, but you were at the
So,
original
yes,
Clog
Yes,
School.
of course I was. Yes.
And some people who would have been there. Mickey Fern. Mickey was there, wasn't he?
Mickey and Eugene. That's father that they died. Poor father.
Father Fern. Hugh John.
Hugh John. He was at the school.
He was at the school.
Yes.
And Mary O'Hagan was
And
at the
Mary
school.
O'Hagan, yes.
And then there would have been a lot of the neighbours, like
Oh
the
God, aye. There was
Nuala Hollywood's family.
all
and-
that just from Fadham, all over Fadham, the Hollywoods, and they were all seamen
Yeah.
families, and round Ballymcdermott, and to yeah, some of them went to Bellinus after that. From Bellinus, where from? It would be from the old Clog School, that area.
Aye. And you just walked down. You
Yes.
walked from your house.
Oh God, aye, yes.
That was a long walk.
Yes, but we didn't think of it as brilliant.
And what was it like in school then, Eileen? Well, for a start, you had a coal fire, I presume.
That's right. Yes.
And and would you have to light the fire for the teacher?
The teacher would light it herself.
Right,
Put plenty, and you'd roll up the papers for her,
right.
and lovely fire would be, oh, beautiful.
And was it tough in school, Eileen?
It wasn't really tough.
You know,
You know, it depends on,
did you get slapped much?
I love school,
Did you?
yeah. I wouldn't miss a day.
Right.
I love school. I loved art, and I loved geography, history, poetry, reading, all that.
Very good. So then the school moved down to what was then the New Clog School opposite the golf club.
Yes, well, that's where I spent a long time there, you know, more so than in the old school,
Aye,
in the new school.
yeah.
Yes.
And who was the parish priest then? Canon Toner
Canon McAnally,
McAnally.
yes.
And who was the headmaster in the school?
Mr. Martin.
Where did he
used-
come from?
He was married to one of the McAvoys. You remember he was Sean McAvoy was the Lord. what
Oh,
was
the
it?
man, he was the chairman of the council.
That's right.
And then he worked in the housing executive.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
his auntie was married to
Mr. Martin.
Martin, Andrew Martin. I think he came from the south of Ireland now, I think.
And where did he live locally?
On the Dublin Road up Martin's Lane. We call it Martin's Lane. You know,
Whereabouts is that, Eileen?
you know where
Martin's
Jim Smith used, you know that between the
Oh,
Fitch's houses.
oh,
you know,
between the terrace
you know,
and Pat Stokes,
yes,
where Sean McAteer, the stonecutter,
that's
lived.
right. Martin's Lane, you call it,
Yeah.
up there.
And in later years, the Miss Lambs lived up there.
That's right.
Isn't that right?
Yes.
I know
think
where you
so.
are now.
Yes.
Opposite the filling station on
That's
the Dublin
right.
Road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, when you left, you stayed at Clog School, you were 14, isn't
Yes,
that right?
I did. Yes.
And then well, it was off to Our Ladies.
Yes, I loved school, but my problem was I wasn't a good speller.
Yeah.
But Mr. Martin used to say to me, "Look, you just have to improve on your spelling," but he never would say anything,
Yeah.
and I thought I was doing all right. I went to the ladies' school with the nuns. Well, they couldn't tolerate me at all.
There was
Couldn't
a change with the
understand-
nuns.
They couldn't understand me spelling.
Right.
Maybe put an E for an O or something.
Yes.
An E and an
Yes.
A. No.
Yeah.
Because I used to love writing lovely stories,
Right.
but so they broke my heart.
I think they broke more than your heart. You told me you got some hard slaps too, didn't you?
Well, with the sleeve, the
Oh,
sleeve.
The sleeve of the habit.
Yes, just.
You'd get a
yeah,
crack with
crack
that.
on it. Yeah.
Ah.
But there were some nice nuns too. I don't, I'm not, but they just couldn't understand me. They couldn't. You see, if I had been living today, you know, the dictionary and
Yeah.
all that sort of thing, but they couldn't understand that I couldn't spell
Yeah.
properly, and it just that.
It was a different era.
Yes, I just thought I would sooner I get out the better,
Yeah.
and it's like flying in the air like a bird.
When you got out.
Oh, it was great, brilliant.
Now that brings us on then, Eileen. You're 15 years of age and you've left. You've just come out of school and obviously you needed a job.
Yes,
And your dad, Barney, was working away. At that stage, if I recall properly, Barney was at sea with a firm called Richard Hughes and Company from Liverpool.
yes, yeah.
And he was sailing along with Terry O'Hanlon.
No, that was earlier. That you're thinking about in this 1916, was it? No.
No, we're talking about
yes.
1940.
Oh, yes. Oh, 40, yes,
And
yes.
he had gone to Dunkirk
Yes,
and they were involved in
That's
the
right.
evacuation of the troops.
that's right.
And we spoke to Tommy O'Hanlon last week and about the Dorian Rose.
Sure.
And you have all the pictures of the Dorian
That's
Rose
right,
at home.
yes.
And in fact, you've brought your dad's medals along today.
Yes, yeah.
And we'll get a look at those. But Barney and Terry O'Hanlon went to Buckingham Palace
That's right.
to get the award of the Distinguished Service Cross.
Yes, yes.
And there was a story, your two sisters went,
That's right.
didn't they?
Yes, I did.
Who went?
Me, Alice and Mary.
Mary.
Mary was the oldest.
Now, we can see in the photograph that we're looking at the...
Mary's not there. Mary's
no, that's Alice.
Alice.
Now, Alice the housekeeper.
Yes.
Now, tell us the story, Eileen, about how Mary and Alice come to be dressed that day. about the suits they wore and the lovely coats.
Well, my father's ship was in Dublin,
Yes.
and he was arranged to go to Buckingham Palace, and he could take his two daughters with him. So at that time it was very hard to get fabric, good
Fabric, yeah.
wool, fine wool, and he bought a web in Dublin,
Yes.
and actually he smuggled it down right round him. He wrecked it round him.
Yes. And smuggled it home.
Yes,
Right.
and he went to Mary my sister lived in Uri. And
Yes.
he went down to Mary. He says, I'm sweltered. He says, help me to get this clothes off me.
Uh-huh.
And he had a big web of stuff wrapped around him. So the next thing, that was all right. He was sweltered. So anyway, he says, the next thing, you have to get the best dressmaker wherever you go to, in town, Belfast, anywhere. So they found out about Maya Smith.
Now tell us who Maya Smith was.
Maya Smith came from Dominic State, I think.
Yes.
And then she married, what do you call him?
She was married to a man called Farrell.
Farrell, yes. Jim Farrell, I think you call him. Jim Farrell. Yes.
And Jim Harvey says he was a member of the Hibs.
That's right.
And she was a tailoress.
Yes, she had 5 top dressmakers. And there'd be 4 or 5 apprentices in different stages.
Yes, yeah.
And she taught you how to make your clothes, make your own patterns.
Patterns, yeah.
And you didn't realise that. I didn't appreciate that till I went to the college.
In other words, what you're saying is, Eileen, you didn't realise really how skilled you were
That's
when you'd
right.
served your time.
That is right.
And you did 5 years.
You had 5 years.
And your wages was how much?
7 and 6, and then you got bit up,
7 and 6.
6 and then 30
So that was 37.5p a week.
but then you got a bit extra, every year a wee bit.
Aye.
I bought a bicycle for in McCardle's
In Monaghan Street
yes.
here. Yeah.
for half a lovely a good bike for half a crown a week.
Lovely.
McCardle's.
That was some HP agreement.
That was great.
Half a crown a
Well,
week.
I think at the end of it that some of my family had me out with it.
But that was the 30-year wages,
That's
Eileen.
right.
30-year wages.
That's right.
So anyway, Jim Harvey was telling me a lovely story about Jim Farrell. And Jim Farrell worked for what was then Newry Urban District Council.
Yes, yeah.
And he was the refuse collector. And he used to collect the bins with a horse and cart.
Yeah,
And then the bins got tipped out on the middle bank,
yeah.
down behind where O'Rourke's coal yard
Sure.
was. That's where the tip head was.
Yes.
So this day Jim was going up the quay with his horse and cart between Dublin Bridge and Ballabod Bridge, and he stopped for a crack with somebody,
Yeah.
as you do.
Sure.
And the horse wandered off, and whatever happened, the horse and cart ended up in the canal. And despite all efforts, the horse was drowned.
Sure, yes.
And Jim Harvey was telling me that story today.
Yeah.
He says, ask Aileen, does she remember the
No,
horse
I don't.
getting
I don't
drowned?"
remember that. I don't remember that. No.
So anyway, in actual fact, just when we're talking, Aileen, when you left May, when you had your time done, where did you go then?
Well, I made clothes for everybody.
Right.
I was with my sister in Uri, and she allowed me to make my clothes at her home.
Mm.
And they were very good to me. They were very good to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I made wedding clothes. I made suits, everything.
Mm.
Everything. Skirts, probably a lot of suits, big coats, winter coats, and wedding dresses.
Mm-hmm. Wedding dresses.
Yes.
Now there's a question. And here's something. Kate Middleton got married to Prince William, as we know,
Yes,
and you got a phone call about that, didn't
that's right. And I don't know who, I don't know who rang me now. I can't, I forget now.
you? Yeah,
And they said this girl told her to ring me and tell me about the dress.
yeah, it's
Right.
beautiful, isn't it?
She says 50 years ago, when she got married, she did a wedding on the wall,
Uh-huh.
and she says it was exactly the same dress.
One that you had made
Yes.
50 years ago.
Yes. The same style and everything.
I'm sure you made many a wedding
God,
dress.
I did, yes. Yeah.
So, where did you start working full time then, Eileen?
With Mary,
Right.
yes.
Your sister.
Yes.
And then you got a job.
Well, then I was at home. My father wasn't too well,
Yeah.
and he said, "I'd love you to keep up. You give up the dressmaking." I have to apologise. My voice is not great because I.
You're all right.
Yeah,
You're okay. You're okay.
yes.
Go
But
ahead.
anyway, he said, "I would like you to give it up for a while."
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "Well, what am I going? Where am I going to work? What am I going to do?" And he says, "You'll not go hungry."
Mm.
That's the words he said. Something will turn up.
Yeah.
You'll be all right. Something will turn up.
And it did.
Yes. So I was walking down. I tried. I was only 3 days here, 2 days. Oh, couldn't get anything.
Mm.
So I met Mary Gribbon, Lord rest her, and she said I made her wedding clothes.
Right.
She's one of the Carlings of the Carlings record.
Oh, the record shop.
Yes, the
Joe
first
Joe
family.
Carlin.
Yes, the first family.
Mm.
And I made her make her wedding dress.
Yes.
And she says, Eileen, I would love a lovely, great, warm winter coat.
Hmm.
Will you make it for me?
Hmm.
Well, she said, unfortunately, my father wants me to give it up, and it's just not the minute I can't do it. Well, what are you going to do? She said, well, I haven't a clue. But she says, well, I tell you, she says, I have a job right there and then,
Mm.
and I don't want to degrade your work.
Mm.
That's the word she said to me. I don't want to degrade your work if you'd like it. But I says, I'm not above anything. I'm not above anything.
Mm.
So she said she was something to do in the factory was what do you call it?
Chivers.
Shivers. And then Coleman's took it over that year. Coleman's.
That's where the Wynn Industrial Estate is today.
Coleman's, yes. And I'm not joking you, she took me in a wee room and all materials and everything. And only just patched here and there, no patches.
On the workers' uniform.
Yes, and the men's. And I'm not joking you, this is the honest truth. This was something that it was something that I enjoyed immensely because I met people that I would never met before.
Mm.
Working people from the town, from
Yeah.
Westbrook, all over.
And you were a
All
country girl.
classes. Yes, all classes.
Mm.
And they were great people.
Yeah.
They were the salt of the earth.
Yeah.
That's the God's truth. In fact, they bought me that watch when I was leaving,
Yeah. Oh, no.
gold watch,
There you are.
because it didn't do with me. The fumes didn't do it with my eyes.
Yeah.
But I had to leave.
You had to leave because of
And
the eye,
bought me
the
that.
eye trouble.
And they bought me that.
Isn't that lovely?
And we used to go to the boiler house. And there's Tommy Rafferty. His boiler house was beautiful, tidy, clean. And I'd get a big mug of tea when I went down. Barney Crummy was down in it. And I would go down, big sandwich, a sandwich and a big mug of tea when I go down to the boiler house with towels and things.
Lovely.
I really enjoyed it because I met people that I had and would never have the opportunity in my lifetime.
Mm.
And they always remembered me. You know, a lot of them's all dead. You know, there are a lot of them dead.
Well, that's a lovely memory, Aileen.
Yes, but they were great people. And very funny. And you see, they come from the parent the parent company from England used to come over.
Yes, yes.
And it's really great crack. You know,
And along we in Chivers,
I suppose about 7 years, I think.
and then you had
I
to
had to
leave
leave, yes.
because they ate
My
trouble.
father died then when he was in, he was
Aye.
there. So then after that I had to go to, I attended Mr. What do you call it?
Mr. Gormley.
Gormley. So then Mr. Horner, the wife of the husband, Mr. Horner, he was the boss from West Trevor. And she said, I'll recommend Mr. What do you call him? He's his office down at Queen's. It'll come to me, I can't think of it. So she made an appointment and got down. So I was allergic to everything.
Yeah,
So he got me an appointment with a Mr. Miller.
right.
I can't think of that man's name, Mr. Miller, and attended him for 3 years. And after that,
You were
got off
okay.
it, yes.
And then you went to Foster's.
I went to Foster's. No, I went into a shop called Alf's.
Oh yes,
I
Alf's.
was attending the doctor at the time,
Right.
and
Alf's was up above the taxi stand.
you know where you got your pictures framed
Yes,
there in Hill Street,
yes, yes.
someplace here. And I was on the sick,
Yeah,
you know what you say, on the sick. And the doctor says to me, no, you're going to work. He says, I'm going to work, I'm fed up, I'm getting a job here, I'm getting a job. No, he says, I'm not sending you off, but some to yourself.
he would rather you to stayed off.
But no, he wanted to stay on the sick.
Ah, he wanted. That's
Yes.
what I mean. He wanted you to stay
But
off
then I
work.
said, I'll be all right.
Mm.
So it was a great experience for me because never shops, never again. Sorry again. But anyway, then I got into Foster's.
And
Well,
Foster's was a beautiful shop, wasn't it?
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
so
some girl.
I got an appointment with the boss, and he says, "Well, the boss, the woman that's going to talk to you is Miss O'Hare,
Oh,
and she will be interviewing you, not me." He was the boss.
yes.
So anyway, she says,
And you smiled at him, of course, Eileen, didn't you? Huh?
but anyway, she was a very fine lady, and being from the country, but she was a lovely lady. But I didn't. I was very polite. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So she said, "What can you do?" And Mr. Thing said, Mr. McConaughey said, he says, "By the way, Mrs. O'Hare, that lady is a tailoress." He says, "What? Oh, you perfect measurements." "Oh, no problem. I got it." That was it.
Mhm.
No problem.
So that was you
Yes.
in charge in Foster's.
That's right. Not in charge, but just an ordinary sales girl.
Right.
There's a whole lot of girls in it.
Aye.
And there's a lovely place. Oh, it was beautiful.
Oh, it's a beautiful
Oh, it was
big department store.
Yes.
And they had a coffee bar.
Oh, God, it's lovely.
There was a lady
Gertie.
called Gertie Black.
And Gertie come to me in the TAC years, because I must ring her sometime.
Yeah.
Gertie come to me to the TAC years afterwards.
Right.
Yes. And what's something else I was going to tell you? It was, yeah.
But anyhow, you enjoyed your time in Foster's.
I did.
And did you leave then?
It burned. It's burned.
That's right, it got burned.
Oh, it was desperate. Burned. I broke my heart. It was burned.
So
And
what did you do for a job
well,
then?
I didn't know. I got an invitation. A fella got, he rang me, he says, Eileen, would you get an invitation? You can get an interview for the Office of Agriculture. So I knew I was misspelling it. Spelling would be good, not good, you see.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
so
says,
the
I don't
spelling
think,
came back
I
to
don't
haunt you.
think that would suit me. He says, well, you know, you'd be you would be welcome. Say, no, I don't think it wouldn't suit me at all. So then, I used to buy me material in Adams,
Oh, yes.
and Mr. Rogers got in touch with me and he says, Eileen, there's a job here for you.
Right.
No problem.
So that was you in Adam's shop then?
Shop. And then I joined the college the same week.
The SRC as it is now, the TAC as we called it.
Yes.
So you were working two jobs.
Yeah, I had 2 jobs.
You
I
had
was doing
Robert
all right.
Adams and you had the TAC.
Aye. And a few cattle.
And then you give up Adams.
I'm talking about you got the tax man, you have to be awful careful. You know, you don't, they say, oh God, she owes us a lot of money.
So
Be careful.
so when did you leave Adams then?
Well, then it was taken over, and then it was retired. They retired.
So you
It's-
concentrated
and
full time on the TAC.
Hadget took it off. Hadget took it over, but then they retired. So I was in the college.
Right.
So I really had the college. I enjoyed the college. I had, day of classes as well.
And you had 21 years there, hadn't you?
21 years.
21
And men
years.
came to me as well. Men with lovely waistcoats they had.
Mm.
Yeah. You worked hard, but it was very enjoyable. You got, it was, you got sort of satisfaction from your work.
Well, now over the years, Aileen, it wasn't all work, and you enjoyed your recreation time,
Sure.
and you had a great passion for golf. Isn't
Yes,
that right?
Yes.
Now here's a picture that we have here, Aileen. What could you tell us about those people on the left? There's a cake there.
Well, then, when I was 80 years old, they arranged a party for me down in Warren Point.
Yeah.
These girls.
You've been a long time member of Warren Point, haven't you?
Yes, over 30 years.
Yeah.
And when I started to, the story behind that, I was going to Lourdes
Mhm.
I was going to Paris by May with my sister and her friend, Minnie McCann.
Mm.
And I was arranging up with Father Devlin for the
The pilgrimage.
yes, and what we had to pay or whatever to
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
So the men are all getting the pitch and putt ready. Jim Downey and the Quinns, all the local people were caught for doing it for voluntary,
Mm.
getting the pitch and work ready.
And Clog.
Yes. And they said, Eileen, will you join when you come back? I said, certainly.
Mm.
So it was full up when I come back, and I couldn't get up. And then Jimmy Trainer had opened
The golf club.
Yes.
Jimmy from Drummond Lane.
Yes. So I joined it.
And that started you the golf.
And he used to come and give lessons. What do you call them from Warren Point?
Don Patterson.
Don Patterson. And then after that, everybody had a place, had to do something for it. So you had to become a captain.
Right.
Everybody had a turn in,
Aye.
and a captain.
And were you the lady captain?
I was a lady captain.
Very good.
Great crack.
And Aileen, you enjoy the drop of the crate there, don't you?
Of course, good whiskey now.
Good, good whiskey.
But then we went to. I was going to join a bigger club, So then we went up to Kitty Hawkey's in Fork Hill,
Yes.
whole office, and we went into the. Kitty was a lovely lady, and we went in for a cup of tea, and of course there was
A cup of
drop
tea,
the-
Aileen?
Yes.
A
the
cup
drop
of tea,
the crater,
Aileen?
the drop of the crater.
And Kitty Hawkins?
Yes, the drop of the crater.
Drop of the craters, right? Well,
But anyway, then the arrangement to play.
moving swiftly
Yes.
on, as they say.
Anyway, I didn't know where to play. I didn't know where to go to Green or Warren Pine.
Right.
So then they said, then I had a few drinks and said, I thought Green Warren Pine would be very up for me too.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Like I was well enough brought. They says, you were really brought up. You were better off. You'd be okay in Warren Point. I thought now it'd be more professional people.
Oh, yes.
Not at all.
No.
But then I joined Warren Point.
So you are a professional person.
And I really loved it. And the people weren't this one and that. The people that were kind to me in Warren Point, and I'm not bragging. That's the truth. I was a country girl.
Yeah.
I didn't have to change my way. I love the crack and all. And these people, they helped me in every way.
That's lovely.
You know, people that I wouldn't rub elbows with.
Well, I saw the night that we were
They were
down.
lovely people.
We were down a couple of months ago
Yes.
with Anthony Russell for
That's
the
right.
John Mitchell
Yes.
night.
Yeah.
And I noticed an awful lot of the people over talking to you and
Yes.
shaking hands
Oh,
with you, and they
great
were
time.
delighted to see you.
Yeah. I think when I was, yes, they were
Well,
brilliant.
along with that, Aileen, you've always had, from you were a child, you've had a lifelong interest in the farm and
Yes.
the animals.
That's right.
And still today, you've got 2 cows, isn't
I
that
have
right?
Emma and
Molly.
Molly.
And Emma and Molly are living up in Ballymacdermot.
That's right.
And there's 2 children, isn't
They
there?
have one is Max
Max,
and Josie. Josephine. Joey.
Joseph.
Joseph.
So we have Emma and Molly and 2 sons,
Yes.
Max and Joseph
That's
Murphy.
right. Yes.
So that's the next generation
That's right.
in
Yeah,
the
that's right.
in the Murphy
Yes,
household.
that's true.
Well, it's been a very enjoyable life, hasn't it?
I
Amy?
really was, only unfortunately, but I'm happy enough, but my voice is not just at what it should be.
You're grand. You're
But you have
grand.
to tell that.
You're
You have
grand.
to, you have to explain that,
Yeah.
because
But you've had a really enjoyable life,
I enjoyed my life.
and your working life has been brilliant.
Brilliant.
And
And all our family, all of us had to do your your turn in the farm. Every one of them.
mm,
You know, and you didn't mind. Oh, that was the done thing at
it was
that
the done
time.
thing, and you enjoyed it,
Yes, sure.
and you still enjoy it today, don't
Yes,
you?
sure.
You were telling me today you were out feeding the cattle, and
Aye.
you're a great woman.
So, as long as the heart goes. Oh,
Well, Aileen, all I can say, all I can say is, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to
Thank you. Yes.
I've really enjoyed it, and I think everyone will enjoy it as well.
Hope so.
So,
I don't
Aileen,
know
thanks very, very
I
much.
don't know the grammar. I know how the grammar wouldn't be very good.
Oh, I think everybody will enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, James.
Thanks,
And thank you
Aileen.
very much.